Hello. I hope you enjoyed that. That was three movements from Brian Lynn's Steak and Kidney Supper. We didn't play the second movement because it goes very low for the bass trombone, and they haven't invented the home recording equipment that can pick up such low frequencies yet. So that's why we didn't do the second movement. I've got with me here online Brian Lynn, the composer of Steak and Kidney Supper. Amongst other things, some solo pieces for trombone, some ensemble pieces for trombone. I know he's a composer, arranger, a bass trombone player, and cheese expert. Cheese?
I was, yes. I retired from the cheese business 2 years ago. I was in charge of ordering for a local farm shop and sold. I was there for 7 years selling cheese, so I learned quite a bit along the way.
Well, I mean, without being corny, there were some aspects of beautifully cheesy moments in some of your pieces. Cheesy in a good way, not cheesy in a bad way. Cheesy in a good way. Can you tell us a bit about the Steak and Kidney Supper and kind of its origins? Where were you in your career and at the time?
Yes, well, Steak and Kidney Supper is the last of 3 suites of trios dedicated to my fellow trombonists in the orchestra at Scottish Opera. Steak and Kidney was the nickname, we've all got them, haven't we, Mark? Given to Stuart Kilgour Drummond by the then first trombone player, John Teague. After my time at Guildhall, I joined Scottish Opera in 1974 and was with them for 5.5 years. During this time, it was a very busy touring company. There was generally a good deal of free time in the day, so we would often meet to just play through some things, relieve the monotony, usually finding a room somewhere in the theatre where we could just before the daily seating call. You know, it was a great way to warm up. So Stuart's predecessor, Noel Fraser, had already had his trio Badee-Doo Dup written for him in 1977. Principal trombone John Teague, his trio Barky Things followed the next year. And then Stuart's trio in 1980 was the last of, if you like, the trilogy. In Scotland, of course, you don't ask for fish and chips. It's a fish supper, or a haggis supper, or a steak and kidney supper. So it's in 4 movements, and the first one is called Starters. It incorporates Stuart's annoying little warm-up in the first few bars. The Dooms, which you mentioned earlier, is very, very low for all 3 trombones, and in the peculiar key of D flat minor, I seem to remember. In any case, quite a challenge. The third movement is Lamb Chop, which of course is the affectionate name for one of Stuart's girlfriends along the way. Various moods in that piece, of course, but there we are. And the full booner at the end. This is what Stuart used to say. He didn't used to say, let's go for a big curry. Let's go for the full booner, you know, usually after the show or something like that. One of Stuart's favourite expressions. And of course, it's based on this Frank Rossellino lick, which you mentioned earlier, Mark.
Yeah, well, I mean, there are lots of jazz players that kind of will play this. Oh, do you know that's a Frank Rossellino? Yeah, you know.
But it's also,
yeah,
yeah, it's a funny little thing. But he would take the trombone out of the case, put it on his face, and just play this thing straight away, you know. And of course, rather like the warm up in the first movement, it drove us a bit potty over. Stuart, of course, was head of brass at Uppingham School for 27 years. He was also, during that time, a housemaster for the sixth form. Retired now, of course. Yes, so there's apart from your delightful recording, there is another one on YouTube. I don't know whether you've seen it recently. And it's rather nice for me because I wrote these for the chaps to relieve the boredom in an opera company on tour. Well, it's the Belgian National Opera House trombone section on YouTube playing it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's a bit fast, but but it's yeah, it's lovely that they're sort of doing exactly the same as what it was designed for, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, when I've been sort of rehearsing and playing this trio, it's especially the first movement. I think one tends to want to go off a bit too fast because of the gaps. But it's got to sit back and feel kind of free and easy, isn't it?
That's right. Yeah, there's some dodgy little triplet passages in it on this. So yes, you can't start it too fast.
Yeah, they are decidedly more dodgy if one goes off a little bit too fast.
Mm.
And back to the little sort of lick at that we talked about that Stuart sort of borrowed. Well, basically, it was just a warm up thing. So you put it in because of Stuart using it as a silly warm up thing.
Yes, I had no idea what it was. It was just something he played, you know. And it's the same with Noel Fraser, bless him. He used the same thing straight out the case, and he played ba-doo-doo-doo, ba-dee-doo-dup. You know, it'd be straight in doing that. So I pick up on these things and use them where I can.
Wow, lovely. And I also wanted to ask you a little bit about your the duets. Brian wrote some duets called the 20 Posh Duets that I use a lot with my students. And funny enough, when I'm doing this lockdown thing that we're in, I've been sort of doing duets with my students, but obviously, you know, because of the delay with the sound going that way for people that don't understand this sort of thing, with the delay goes one way and it comes back. If someone's trying to play in time with you that end, obviously it gets out of sync, and me listening it, then it all grinds to it. So the only way to play duets is if you've got an upgraded sort of separate sound system, which there are some out there, which are a very good. Source Media apparently is a very good one. But a lot of people don't have that technology. So what I do with duets is I will play one half of the duet, and all of the students will be muted, so I can't hear them at all, which is a real shame. But it means I become their backing track, their live backing track, and so they play along, listening to me playing your tunes. I mean, I know there's a lovely one of the duets which has got the doom 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 doom, and it's yeah. It's a lovely little floaty tune, and so I just play the bass line, and it means that the students are kind of they're joining in, and they're not just playing to a metronome click. You know, they're actually reacting to me a little bit, and it's a shame that I can't hear them. But I use yours because they're just such lovely tunes to play, and even just playing the accompaniment along to the melodies gives a real sort of sense of warmth and fuzziness. So when I talk about, when I mentioned cheesy early on, it's that good cheesy. And at the moment, everyone needs to be able to find little ways to smile. So
Yes,
for the trombone aficionados who are watching this, the Dualalianastics, how did that piece come about?
Again, it's John Kenny, of course, from Taverner's Trombones days. It has the ability to play all day, every day, you know, without seemingly having any problem with chops. And I just thought, right, well, hence the subtitle for this piece, a brief torture for unaccompanied trombone. I thought I'd have a go, you know. I'm no expert at writing very modern technical things. So I only put a couple of things, as you know, in that piece. There was a review at some stage, generally about my music. It said that his music reflects his classical orchestral training, a love of jazz, and the rich and peculiarly English character of Anglican church music. And, you know, quite a review, really. I'm very happy with that. Very happy with that. But as you were mentioning earlier about the tunes, you know, and as you know, in Dualalianastics, there are lots of tunes. You know, yeah. I cannot not write a tune. Yeah. So there we are.
Wow.
Some of them sound like other things, but then again, we've all done a bit of that, I'm sure, over the years.
Yeah, and as a concert goer yourself, because I know you regularly come to LPO concerts and LSO concerts, and I know you go to lots of concerts in town. How are you finding the kind of lack of music to kind of go and listen to? Are you chomping at the bit to go and see live music, or are you kind of happy to wait?
It's odd. Leslie and myself are very keen concert goers, as you said. The LPO brochure is the most popular one in our family, certainly.
Very kind.
The programming and the way the brochure is laid out and everything is superb. And you do some fabulous musical on the way. Yes, we look at all these things, but we're choosing things that we don't know now. You know, okay, there may be a Grieg piano concerto in the middle, but either side, hopefully, there's unusual pieces that perhaps we don't know very well or never even heard of. I do a bit of conducting here as well locally with the Brentwood Philharmonic Orchestra, and I'm hoping to bring an unknown piece by an unknown composer to the orchestra. It's an Estonian composer called Willem Kapp, and he's written this beautiful symphony in 1955 in the sort of style of the late 1900s. And okay, you can hear lots of other composers in it, but it's just so lovely and so melodic. So I'm hoping to do that with them in the very near future. Yeah.
Oh, thank you, Brian. So, and what about your playing sort of career? Because I know you started in Scotland. Is that right?
That's correct. Yes, with Scottish Opera, I was there 5.5 years, 74 to 80, and it seems as though I got a little bit labelled along the way as being somebody who knows a bit about opera. Because before I'd finished with Scottish Opera, I'd started with Kent Opera, which was a fantastic company. For 10 years, I was with them until they finished in 1988, during which time I just started at the Colosseum with Eno. So
English National Opera.
English National Opera, which I've been, so I've been doing opera all my life, as well as orchestral concerts, various, was with a lot of work with the Philharmonic, a lot of work with the BBC Symphony, a little bit of work with the LPO and LSO, but yes, very much on the freelance thing with doing shows as well. I had my own, if you like, it was Chess, the show written by the ABBA boys with the famous "I Know Him So Well" duet.
Oh yeah. Nice. And who were your contemporaries at when you were studying? Because were you Guildhall? Was that right?
The Guildhall
Junior Academy.
Junior Academy. Yes, I was very fortunate, very, very fortunate to have been brought up with Dudley Bright, in the sense that we were both at Junior Academy 7 years. We were both at, although he's a year older than me, we were both in the National Youth Orchestra together, 3 years. He's a year older than me. And we were both
Did you say that?
at Guildhall. It's actually only 10 months, but there we are. It was a school year older than me, but we were just together all the time. And I have to say, I learned so much. I learned so much from him. Noel Fraser, Mike Crowther, Paul Beer. I mean, probably most of these have retired now, I'm sure. Andy Ross, of course, Radio Ross. And just prior to me, Steve Saunders. There you go.
Wow.
Chris Stern, of course, was later in my time at Guildhall, and he's still with Scottish Opera.
Thanks, Brian, for joining us. Really appreciate that. Hopefully for people sort of watching at home, that's kind of adds a bit of interest to the piece. Brian's a lovely man. I've known him for years and years and years. In fact, when he mentioned his time at English National Opera, just after I graduated from Guildhall, I've been out of Guildhall for a few years myself, and I was very, very young and had hair. and we played together back then, some 20-something years ago. And he was always very nice to me, and he bought me a pint or two.
You're most welcome, Mark. And just one thing, remember, please don't try to analyse my music. Just have fun with it.
Good, we all do. Thank you, Brian.
Smashing. Bye-bye.